Hello, hello, testing, testing. Okay. Today I'll continue with the feature frenzy, which had kind of a sad start yesterday because I had to think through a couple of things. But since then I've been moving pretty fast. And yeah, all the features that I add this week don't necessarily end up in the game, but I'm just trying stuff out. And what I did just before stream is that I added a shield bash. So if you have the shield equipped, which is now, let me put down a couple of boulders as well. So if you have the shield equipped and you use the special key in a direction, you can stun enemies and you can also destroy boulders with the shield, and that decreases the durability, of course. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's the feature of the shield. It still gives you defense. I removed the armor because well, it's not in the game right now, and I think it doesn't fit the setting as well. And yeah, so you have the shields and you have the secondary non-combat ability in destroying boulders, and I want to add one to the bow as well. And I think I make the arrows of the bow move boulders. That should be pretty fun. Let's see how I can implement that. Okay. The bow has a function that's in some file right here, and I need to find out what it is. Okay, so it's the shot function. Shot function returns a impact point, and then I look at that point if there's an entity there, and I need to see if the shot function does filtering or if it returns a boulder. So shot, try. If it's dead or if it has size null, then it's not returned, but it should return boulders. So let's just try it out. So what I can do here is I have the impact point, I have the entity at the impact point. If that's 0, then return. But if the entity is pushable, that means it's a table or it's a boulder, then I can just push it in the direction of the shot. And let's do this actually. After that. Wait, does that make sense? I have the leaving arrows function here, but that puts arrows at the ground. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. So if the entity that's hit by the arrow is pushable, then push it. And that just takes the entity and a direction. And what do I return here? I should return 1 in any case. So let's try to push it. And I need the direction, and that's just... Oh, that's a... Is that a vector? Okay, that's not here. It's here. Yeah, it's a vector. That's not that big of a deal. I have the vector. Okay, this is the push function. That's the wrong one, but I have the vector here as well. So yeah, D is already correct. So let's try that out. Let's put down some boulders and a bow and some arrows. Where are the arrows here? And that works. Okay, I can't push it when I stand next to it. That's correct. Let's try and get this cobalt. Okay, why didn't that work? I need to call a different function, I guess. I need this function. Yeah. Push. Where was it? So push entity actually is just the one hierarchy deeper. Hey Ethan. I forgot to put on my chat phone. 1 second. So the push entity function is one layer deeper. It's more... it doesn't... It stops at obstacles. So I need this function, push function, that actually squishes enemies. And... Okay, this uses the hero position. That's not good. So I'll have to rewrite this. Okay, automod held your message. What's going on? How doing, Pel? Doing well, thanks. Things are moving pretty fast, so I'm motivated. Oh, is Pel a swear word in some language? Don't think so. Weird. Now maybe my chat can start. That would be nice. So yeah, I'll have to rewrite the function. And I'll do that. What are we working on feature-wise? Currently, I'm adding pushing of the... So the boulders in the game are pushable, as you probably know. And I'm adding secondary functions to the secondary weapons. Apart from combat and the bow, I think should be able to push boulders if you shoot at them. So that's what I'm doing right now. But this function doesn't work for that, so I'll have to rewrite it. Let's see how it's called. Okay, that's bad. So that's actually just a hero function. Okay, so I'll have to break this in two. That's annoying. Okay, ever thought of having boulders be able to be pushable off a cliff? Just means you'd have to end up adding easing physics so the boulder falls instead of just suddenly hits the floor below. An aesthetic thing, but probably not gameplay altering. So most of the world is cornered off with the line, with the edge lines, so you couldn't push it off a cliff if you wanted to. You could probably on a bridge, which is currently not possible. But that could be an idea. But then I'll probably just destroy it when it lands on the floor. Easing physics. That sounds way too complicated. So yeah, there are no physics in the game. It's all just sine waves or cosines. Okay. So I probably want this part here. Okay, let's rewrite this so that it's cleaner. If this is 0, then return 0. If it's not pushable, return 0. And then all of this can go there. So I need the lower part. Oh, there's a walk function for the hero in there. That's not good. Easing is just a function that does something gradually faster rather than specifically per frame. Like it falls faster and faster until you hit the floor. It's just an easing function. Okay, so yeah, just an exponent. That's basically just velocity. Yeah, I have that for the particles. Destroy. So I can put this. So I need a pushable function. Is there a different word? Maybe slide. What else could I push? Yeah, I think slide is better word. So slide, and I need the entity and the direction vector. Oh, and it needs to return an integer. If slide is 1, then I move. Wait, if it's 0, then I return 0. And this in the middle lands in the slide function. If I slide it, the thing, then the hero walks and etc. Yeah, essentially, it has a lot more use cases. I think a lot of games use it for animations and stuff. Yeah, so I have these easing functions here, but I rarely use them. How do I think I don't actually ease the move animation. Wait, I do, I think. No idea. But yeah, I have this in my workbench. Just in-out easing functions. But yeah, not that often used. Can I get another beer? All right. Okay, slide. Let's take this. Give this struct entity and the vector. Slides a pushable entity squishing others in the process. Okay. Oh, there's a damn. Okay, I don't need those. That's covered. Squish NPCs. Okay, I need struct entity et. Then I need the position of the entity. That's just EP. Yeah. And the direction. And I can just break this out as well. So if the entity is 0, return 0. And that's the entity behind the boulder. If the oh, that's not EP. That is PE. So E is the boulder here. And I slide the boulder, so E is the boulder. But I want the thing behind the boulder. Okay, that adds D, the direction to the boulder. And that's correct. So if the entity behind the boulder isn't squishable, then return. Well, I actually can't do that. Go to push. And then like that. Be acquired. That's awesome. Is it as hot where you live as it is here? Because it's getting hot again. Yeah. I mean, it's still bearable, but could get worse. 29C. Yeah, I think that's the same as it is here. So yeah, cold beer is a good idea. Okay, yeah. Return 1. So let's look at that again. This is called when you press the button, when you move into a boulder, then it gets the boulder or the entity where you're walking into. It looks to see if it is pushable. If it is, then it slides it. If that didn't work, it does nothing. If that did work, then it walks in the direction so that you're moving with the boulder. And the sliding is if the so E is a boulder. If E is pretty broken, then it gets destroyed. Else it gets a bit more broken. And then I get the entity behind the boulder. If that's null, then I just, if there's nothing behind the boulder, I'll just push the boulder. And if the entity behind the boulder is not squishable, then actually I need to return 0. And if it's squishable, then I squish it. And then I push the boulder. Okay, that seems correct to me. And now I can call this slide function when the arrow hits the boulder. So if the thing that was hit by the arrow is pushable, then slide it. And yeah, I don't want the fight, but I want the sound and the metric. Implicit. Implicit. Okay, that's even worse. Oh god. That's just the order of the functions in the file. That's a problem. If an arrow hits a boulder, it just moves one space, right? Yes. Would be an interesting mechanic if you could draw a bow further back and have the boulder shoot further the opposite direction. Be good if it then kills enemies. So you mean like a super shot that then moves the boulder 2 tiles? That could be fun. Could also then pierce 2 enemies that stand behind each other. So just shooting moves the boulder by 1, and then a super shot that moves 2 or more tiles. That's a cool idea. I could put that in a charm actually, but we'll get to the charms later. And if it's in the direction of an enemy, it can do damage either by killing them or going through them visually, but doing damage otherwise. If it's the direction of an enemy, you can do damage by killing them or going through them. Yeah. Piercing would be another thing. There could be another charm, so that the arrow just continues. That sounds pretty fun, actually. Let me write that down. Add piercing to arrows where the arrow Ever stops. And had a super shot. That maybe, or it could be a different kind of arrow shot. Let's say one is piercing and the other one is more of a blunt arrow that would push the enemies itself. And then push boulders 2 spaces. It also meshes nicely with the weapons, piercing and blunt weapons. Also, would also work pretty well with the bow in general, so that you can kite monsters easier. Push an enemy further, enemy back, and boulders for 2 tiles. Yeah, if it would be like a puzzle in a way of trying to get enemies to line up, where you would shoot the boulder towards, so it damages or kills them. Yeah, in a way, it's a mini game or something similar. Yeah. So the alignment of you and the becomes a mini game. Okay. Yeah, alignment games. Problem is the terrain has to accommodate that, and I'll have to try that out. But yeah, that's that would be pretty cool. Okay, so what are my problems here? Implicit declaration of slide. 675. That's here. Yeah, so let's just move it up. And then break pushable. Squishable. Hello. Dude. Me and naming functions. Unused. Any undeclared P. Okay. That's just the hit sound. And that, yeah, I can just use that. Unused ET. If that makes sense. Okay. Let's clean this and test it. And I should save these boulders. And the bow and arrows. Okay. So actually, let's make this a bit easier. Let's trap a poor monster in here so that I can see if they get squished. And that works. Get away from me. Okay, pretty cool. All right. Good. Next thing on the list is let's make arrows a bit easier to find. And that's simply just increasing the bundle size in which you find them, and also the large stack size. Let's make that 60. Okay. So what I did is all the monsters in the world are placed by hand, and I think that's getting a bit boring. So I randomized them. So they're still placed in the world, but if there's a kobold in the world, it may become something else if you encounter it. But the but right now it's completely random, and I'm just testing that out. But it seems to be more fun already. So I have this random enemy function that's called for every enemy that's placed in the world. But I want to, so first of all, okay, I think it's every second. So one enemy is taken from the world directly and the other one is randomized. But I want this to be more to have a pattern. Right now it's pretty much, yeah, it's half random. So the idea is to have some enemies only spawn during the day and others only during the night. And what I did with the day and night as well is that I made it so that there's no dawn and no dusk. So if you enter a building, the game checks, okay, should it be, if you exit a building, specifically if you exit a temple, the game sees, checks, okay, should this be day or should this be night? And then it just sets it. One reason for that is that the continuous day-night change creates this whole middle thing where the colors are kind of desaturated, and yeah, it's a weird middle thing between the cold night and the warm day. So that's one thing I wanted to get rid of. And the other thing is that I now have, if you have a clear cut, then you have something, then you have a point where you can change things. A clear point, which would be switching out monsters. So for example, during the day, you have kobolds, trolls, robbers, but during the night, you have bats, zombies, and wolves. So that, I think, would first of all increase the atmosphere of the game, and it would create this two-tiered system, even though the monsters don't vary that much right now. But I think that's that would make the game more playful. So I have these random spawns right here, and I'll split them into day and night. So but maybe first of all I should fix the day and night thing, but because right now how it works is the game increments a timer. This is different from how it worked before. So right now the game increments a timer. If that reaches 750, it flips a boolean between day and night. But it only does so if you exit a layer 2, a dungeon basically, so that you kind of lose sight on where things were. Because if I would switch it in layer 1, which is just the huts, these small interiors, then it can be pretty jarring. If it's day, you walk in, trash a barrel and go back out, and then it's night. That wouldn't work well. So it only changes if you went into a larger dungeon, but I still have the problem that if you exit immediately, then the day-night might change. So it should only change if you exit on a different, if you exit somewhere else than where you came in. So maybe there's a simpler solution, but I could also just count how many turns you spent on the ground, and if that reached a threshold, then when you exit, the time of day changes. That may be easier, probably. Let me see what I did with the state. So this is the day-night state, and then I have the counter that goes up to 750 right now, and it decrements actually. Thinking about if I can hook this up to the player turn count. Oh, I can actually make this super simple. Yeah, if I enter a dungeon, I just add to this number again. So this ticks down from 750. If it reaches 0, then when you exit the dungeon, it flips this day to night thing. But if you enter the dungeon, I could just increment this by the number of turns I want to have as a threshold. So let's say 50. So you enter the dungeon at 0. So you spend a whole day in the overworld. You enter the dungeon at 0. But when you enter, I set the timer to 50 again. And if you spend 50 turns in the dungeon and then exit, then it's actually at 0. And it flips the day. Okay, that should work. That means I need to go. Actually, it was in the teleport function. Here. Yeah, so this is called when you transition between layers. And it checks if it's less than or equals to 0, it flips the day and resets the timer. But actually, I only want this to. I only want this to. I only want this in layer. If you teleport to layer 2. So this layer is where you're going. Layer 2 is the overworld. So if you're going outside and the timer is 0, then flip the day night. But if you're going underground, that is in a building interior or a dungeon, then increment the timer. But I don't want this to go over the actual timer. Got a nip up to sort out food. Catch you soon, but might be back before I end stream. Alright. Have a nice day then. If we don't see each other. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the arrow ideas. They're pretty awesome. Yeah, take care. Take care, bud. Okay, so this should probably work. Let's make this a bit more readable. Something like that. Okay. Let's render this. And I mean, that's actually enough. Okay, daytimer's going down. I teleported. Okay. Sure if I can survive this. Okay, there's the exit. Still going down. And if I enter, it should jump to, yeah, 670. Unbelievable. How that keeps coming up. Okay. And then let's for testing purposes, let's turn this down to 50. And did I stop there? That looked weird. Let's restart. And why is it at... Okay, I have to clean the build. Okay, it's at... Well, that's actually a good... Well, that's irrelevant. Okay, I'm on the outside. Minding my own business. No, the timer should become negative. Oh, that's actually not good. That's not good. Where do I decrement it? Yeah. Shouldn't go under 0. So that the buffer takes effect. Okay, so it's at 0. I enter, I get 50 more. That means when I exit, it's still night. Okay, yeah, max is 50, so it doesn't go over that. But now I've spent 50 turns inside, and if I exit, it's day. Let's try this one more time. And if I exit, it should be night. Awesome. Okay, this works. So now back to the split spawning. Okay, it's 1 in 3. Let's make it completely random. Well, let's make it a second step. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so stupid name for the function, but it turns the object index, converts the object index into a creature that matches the day. I think I only need one function for that. So what I want is I want to convert some of them. So this stays completely random, but then I switch on this. Oh, I actually need two functions. Probably. And this would be night, actually. So trolls, kobolds, robbers. Yeah, the jackal. Troll turns into a ghoul. Yeah. And maybe like this. And then this would be the other way around. That makes sense. I mean, it's a start. So day, night, entity. If Probably. Cool thing is I could also switch out any other entity in the game. Don't continue. Let's see what happens. Okay, cool. It's a good sign. And that's just a room. Oh, actually... Underground should be irrelevant. But that check should be here. If L is not the surface. That's stupid. If it is a surface. And actually let me increase the hero health. Because I've changed a couple of these stats, and the hero needs more health. But potions should heal more as well. Then maybe like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, if I see a kobold, I know that worked. Okay, wolf is... Yeah, wolf and jack also. That means the whole pool of monsters is there. And it kind of seems completely random to me. How the monsters are picked. But, well, there's a skeleton on near a temple saw. That should be fine. And yeah, that kobold is also placed by hand there. Because I only have kobolds on bridges. And yeah, maybe I should make it less random. In the underground. Because it's a bit more thematic down there. Oh, I have a bow and 10 arrows. Let's see if I can shoot a boulder. Okay, the ghoul is especially blind. Well, actually, why do I have the timer for the day and night? I could just simply say, okay, if you went through a dungeon, then the time of day should change, irrespective of how many turns have passed. But I'm not sure if that check is actually easier. Probably not. Because I'd have to check the percentage the player is through the path and make it depend on that, but I would still have to make the exiting dungeons check. It's not just change the day-night one turn to the other in the overworld. Yeah, but I like this. So this is 100% day, and I like the colors much more if they're not desaturated. And the contrast between day and night is also much better. Okay, let's try something else. Let's ping the enemies. Actually, that's in enemy visibility. Let's move this up to 6. Short range was okay, I think. Yeah. So I have these this stalker flag. Actually, I don't think it ever worked. Which is meant for some enemies that they can basically smell you from far away and track you. But that was prevented by the line of sight. So if I say don't use the line of sight test, it's a stalker, and maybe 24 is a bit much. It might. Well, let's just try it out. See what happens. It could get swarmed by a whole lot of creatures. Ah, damn it. If I don't die before that. Also, the list on the left, the status list, is getting a bit cramped. I think it's yeah, it's possible to have so many charms that it'll extend off the screen. But you really have to try. But I should convert some of them into icons so that okay, this is a weird path. So that I have more space, basically. Uh-oh. Yeah, I like it much more with the... So what I did is I decreased the damage that the enemies and the hero do. But I upped the health that they have. So combat is now more substantial and you have more time to yeah, think about things while you're in combat. It's not as quick, and I think that's gives it a bit more weight, which is good, I think. But I'll have to, yeah, I'll have to do a really long run to figure out how that works. Because yeah, enemies get stronger, and they maybe they become too easy or they become too hard. Who knows? But they actually don't do that much damage, just 1 damage, and I don't even have the shield on. Okay, I have a defense potion, but yeah, this troll is basically not hitting me. So I might have overdone it with the decrease in damage. So let's move that back up. That's in externals. That's the damage roll. Okay. Anyways, that seems to work. But I actually didn't pay too much attention, but I think it worked. I'll review that later, of course. Okay, other things. Adding a bat. Adding a bat. So I had the hornet, but let's turn that into a bat. And Oh, well, I should have... So the bats should only appear in the night, but... Then I would need another flying enemy for the day. First, let's add it to the pool. And there were... I just commented out most of the Hornet stuff. Yeah, that's active, and that's commented out. That was the blinking, actually. And yeah, that's not in use. Oh shit. Edited the same file here, but that's fine. Flight, that goes. Undeclared. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to change the color. Bats are gray, of course. I mean, I could make it something more threatening, but it's okay. Bat. And what I also want is to then be able to fly over obstacles. And that should be possible. I just need to add another movement function. That could maybe be it. So I have a normal move that looks at the, well, path. That's very relevant. So it doesn't walk off the map. But here, occupied. The occupied check should not. So if the, I think this comes down to the height that the object has. So if it's, first of all, it has to be a prop, so the bat doesn't fly over other other enemies. And then it has to be not a tree, so it has to have a maximum height of probably just the entity standard height. And now what does it do then? Don't let enemies block landing ledges. Yeah, that's... Don't block exits from the other side, and then don't walk over large terrain changes. Oh, I could actually remove that restriction. I could also make the bad move on the ledge lines. That would be crazy. Let's try. Okay, normal move is not static, so that's bad. But it should be. Okay, that's good. Let's remove that. Okay, normal move is called in walk. So if the entity is in flight, well, that's bad. Let's do it in here. If turn let's do it like that. Yeah, let's just see what happens. Could crash the game in 100 different ways, but it could also just work. Flight in direction. So let's see. Next position. If path. So let's look at path. So there has to be a tile there. Let's do this by hand. Okay, so there has to be a tile there. Doesn't matter if it's water, it doesn't matter if it's an edge. That's all irrelevant. And then it tests for occupation. And that just says if there's an entity where you want to walk to, okay, I need to save that. And if the size is greater than entity height, I think that's, yeah. That should work. And then don't let enemies block landing ledges. I should have that. If the entity is not the hero and is on a different layer than the hero, actually need the tile. And so if the player's inside, don't stand on the exit. That's basically that. And then elevation changes. Irrelevant. And then comes the move. The actual move. Bats don't stomp on stuff, but they shake a bit. And this is not the hero. Hero cannot fly, right now at least. That would be insane. Holy cow. That would be amazing. But let's see if this crashes the game first. Return 1. Okay, I think I added the bats to the game. Yeah, bat is there. And then so, let's say let's switch it out with the bear. Does that make sense? What else do we have? Yeah. So yeah, I can't. The problem is I cannot now put down entities and expect them to be there, as you can see. But there's a 1 in 3 chance that they will be. Let's just make everything bats. Okay. Well, that's not everything. That's 2 out of 3. Should be bats now. And of course, during day, they are bears. Okay, I need the night, please. Okay. Okay, so it's allowed to move, but it doesn't want to. Because the pathfinding still has all the obstacles in it. That's bad. Okay, that's shouldn't be there. But I can. Why don't I have the entity here? Okay, where is way called? Hello? Here in Chase. Oh god. Okay, need to somehow I need to get to this function. Okay, that's... Okay, that's better. So debug, debug, debug. It's called a couple of times. Yeah, and I need it to be agnostic to the entities, because I use it for testing the path test. So could just add a flag. I could just add a flag. What is AW? Oh, that's the range. Why is it 8W? Okay. Let's just add flags. Actually... 36. Let's not add a flag. Let's just say, okay, is this flight or not? Or not? Another int. And then here, anyway. Actually, let's remove the stupid any. Yeah. And this gets flights. So if it is flight, if stupid. This should be an extra function. Static and is way, and that gets something. Okay, started to write HTML. A second there. not a good sign. Good, I need the position and the layer. Turns 1 if the A star position, if position P presents a it is possible for A star. Other way around. So NMI is way and somehow it has to be the other way around. Okay, so and the whole exercise was for me to say if this thing is flying, or actually in here. Yeah, in here. If flight is 1 and 1. Kind of. Not 100%. I need to do the entity check. So let's do the check here. Can't do that. Something like that. Not pretty, but should work. And yeah, let's repair that. Oh God. And actually I need to Yep. Entity flags flight. Not 0. So if I can paste this one, yeah. This one, this is alignment. Yeah, did that already. Okay. Okay, let's finally see it crash. Probably. Okay, it's night, that's good. I need to remember to reset the daytime. Okay, Google. Oh, there's a bat over there. What does it do? Does nothing. Why doesn't it step on? Uh-oh. Well, still doesn't want to. We're not calling the correct thing. Should be in chase. Should be in any movement. Walk. It does a normal move, and that does the flight move. And that just moves. Is there another check in there? Probably put entity here. Place on top. Oh, that should work. That should work. Don't quite get it. And I have to remove that blinding thing. They are not walking over the rocks. Okay, let's follow this again. Way, light move. Okay, that's just the walking. Let's turn flight. Greater than entity height. That might be the problem. Let's just test it like that. And then okay, that doesn't work. Let's just return it. Okay, they still don't. Where's the stupid bats? No stinging. Okay. I don't get why. So it all begins here in Chase. And then it sees if there's a way there. And then it calls walk. And that was this function. So it's not the hero, so it calls normal move, which calls flight move. So it has the path, but now it moves actually. Let's remove this check. So it doesn't check the entities at all. What is happening? So I think it still is, yeah, they don't cross it. So, but why do they? Let's leave this off. So it still is in the pathfinding. Or is it in line of sight? I mean, this is not used here. But maybe an entity. Nope. Okay, chase. Followed by. That might be the problem. No. LMX, how's it going? Congrats on the 300 copies sold. Thanks. Yeah. Hit 300 today. It's super awesome. Yeah, Andre, how are you doing? Hope you're well. What annoying problems have you had to deal with so far? Annoying problems. You mean with the programming or in general? Because in general there weren't annoying problems. Could be in general. Just the only really annoying thing is me not deciding or me having too many options in how I can progress the game. That's the only annoying thing. Other than that, it's going pretty well. I can't complain. And this is annoying right now that I can't figure out how to make the pathfinding work for flying enemies. Sorry I've been away recently. Last semester of school took a lot of time. No worries, Andre. No worries. Yeah, school's important. Flying enemies, yeah, kind of. So I have bats. They were hornets previously, but I renamed them into bats, and they should be able to fly over objects and maybe across elevation levels. So the H's, yeah. But they don't. they all decide to not move over these things, and I'm not sure why. It could be either the pathfinding, or it could be actually, if I can I hide in here? Just look at them. Nope. They attack me. I was wondering if they just wander around, if they walk over the obstacles, but it seems like that's not what they're doing. So it may actually be the flight move. Look at the tile. And then don't stand on ledges. And then move entity. Remove from old position. Okay, that should just work. That's hero. And then put it down. And that says... Oh, that checks for the size. Ugh, that could be a problem. So this is the very core of the movement in the game. And this puts down, basically I have this entity map with pointers, and when an entity moves, I plug it out and put it in somewhere else. And this puts the entity at the next position. But if there's something there, wait, this checks for the size of the placement. So this is the entity map at that position, and the size of the entity at that position. If it's a 0, then it's just places it there. If the entity I have plugged out and I'm trying to place as a size of 0, then I can put it into the ground pointer of the entity that's there, basically underneath their feet. And the third option, replace that entity if the entity is 0. So yeah, that makes sense. This returns 0. This entity map is used to prevent problems with pointers. Well, it does, but that's not the reason it exists. So the entity map is just a region in the world that moves with the player and that holds all the entities that are loaded in the game. So I'm not sure how big it is right now, but it's a rectangle around the player that's just a 2D array full of pointers, most of them null. And anywhere there's an entity loaded, then it has a pointer in that map. And then if the player moves and an entity falls off that map, it gets unloaded. So that's how I manage memory and the active entities in the game. So I found the problem. This is the problem. Or the entity has flight. And the entity at the map has a size of less than the entity size. Oh god. Hey Squint, how's it going? Just been lurking. Nice. Good that you found your problem. Always step 1. Step 1, IG, I guess. IG is I guess. Make run. Okay. Yeah, this was a deeper sitting problem than I thought. But yeah, as you can see, kind of that is now sitting on top of the stone. Yeah, they're moving over it. So that's pretty cool. And then light DH. So this is the flight animation. I want the floor ground. I want the floor to be offset by the entity below. BH is 0. And then BH is something, and this is BH. And that is if the ground of the flying entity is not null, then this is that thing's size. It's fixed. I think so. I'll have to test a bit more. I've never seen one sprite over another. I thought maybe it was possible in your implementation. No, so the game is just 3D. I can do whatever I want. So there's no limitations there. I just prevent it. Actually, you can see if a table or a bed has a piece of gold under it, and it's on the very left or right on your screen, you can sometimes see the gold shining under it, which is a bug, but yeah. What do you think of stacking sprites when displaying something like a tree or pillar? Trees do have trunks, yeah. But only since I think I added them 2 weeks ago. And let me turn on the day. Yeah, so you can see the tree trunks. And they're just billboard sprites that are rotating to where the camera is. So yeah, I have them, and I have the pillars down here. They also have trunks or stems, basically. Thanks, Robber. But yeah, thicker ones. Dude, why are they ganging up on me? Okay, night. I need... Jesus. Whoa, okay, there's a... Oh, yeah, oh god. It's... Wait, where'd it go? And the game crashed. that makes sense. Double free. Oh god. So the bet disappeared and then the game crashed. I suspect that this has something to do with the code that I just changed. Do you have some sort of automated tests like simulating player input, or this only pay off later on when things have settled more? So I have make run test. Oops, make test. I have a bot that can play the game on its own. And but that's only really good for finding crashing bugs. So, or for balancing a bit at least. So what I can do with this is I can run it offline, so without rendering, so it goes really fast, and then it prints out a line for each run in kind of CVS, kind of a CSV file, and then I can import that in a CSV reader and look at the curves and how the runs went, but that's pretty much it. This is what speedruns are going to look like. Yeah, that looks like carpal tunnel syndrome. Totally. So yeah, I have that, and I have a path test. Very pleasant to watch. Automations run automatically. Yeah, it's really fun. And I have the path test. That's just something I run in the editor that finds a lot of problems. So I just click this and then it runs for a while and then prints out test okay. But yeah, that checks for things like if I put, actually I think it won't find it here because it's outside of the boundaries. But if I place the wrong items on these ledges, for example, it'll find that. Yeah, object on ledge. Or much more important, it'll detect badly placed boundaries between the tile patches. It detects double spawn markers and all that kind of stuff. That's really hard to find by hand. But yeah. And that's it. Those are the two tests. But yeah, I mean, before every update, I play the game for 3 hours. Approximately. I mean, the later, the nearer the release date gets every Friday, the more I just play the game. So that's the main method of testing. Okay, let's see why the bats crashed the game. If I can survive. Actually, let me put on guard mode. Okay. can run over her. Oh god. Okay, that's maybe a bit much. That the bats can jump these elevations. Oh yeah, I think I know what the problem is. Yeah. The bats shouldn't. They should only ever walk across props, not other entities. And if yeah, and the same thing in is way. That is this. Okay. Test this actually. God mode. And then let's just wait. Hello? Okay. There. Walked onto the bush, but it does get darker. No, that's just my light. So the backdrop is not rendering correctly. It's the ground actually. Yeah, why is that not working? I actually like that they can move across the elevation levels, but it should be limited to one. That's scary. Okay, please walk on a prop. Ah, that looks much better. Yeah. Yeah, maybe let's not make them move elevation levels. Why is the elevation not in here? I mean, it is in here, but oh, it's just wandering. Okay. Flight move. Let's steal elevation. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, that's scary enough. And came ping. So there's a line of sight check here. Yeah. Okay, stalking enemies and the flying enemies. Ignore the line of sight check. That should make things a bit more fluid. Oh yeah. That's horrifying. Um mm, 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 mm. Okay, so now the bats should be able to pathfind around larger obstacles like the pillars, probably. I need some of them first, of course. Still seems pretty dumb. I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, looks pretty promising. Good guys, I'm going offline for today, and I'll work on more stuff. First of all, I'll finish this up, and then I'll work on more features. And then tomorrow I'll have a bunch of new stuff. Yeah, so the plan is to implement all this stuff on until Wednesday, and then just play the game, see what feels good, and revert all the stuff that didn't work. Good rest. Thanks, Andre. Yeah, wish you a nice... What's the day? Sunday. Yeah, nice Sunday. I'll have to put some more time in. Been a while since I've played substantially. Yeah, so with the next update, a couple of things will change. So hopefully all for the better. So that may be a reason to jump back in. And also all the new regions. But yeah. Good. Appreciate you. Thank you for all the support. Thanks guys in general for bringing the game to 300 sold copies. That's really awesome. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. All right. I'll see you then. Bye bye.